Ambassador Andy Mashaila, security strategist. Andy, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Lulu, good afternoon to you and the heavyweight champion show listeners throughout our beautiful continent, waking up to these horrifying news that as the day gets older, you become suspicious. Are we seeing another brown Nokotsi setup here?
You know, SAPS says it has launched a large scale operational deployment ahead of the planned shutdown. What's your take on just the state of preparedness by SAPS? And also, with March and March, we've seen Jacinta and her team all over the place and talking or questioning government's response to this protest march. What's your take on that and just government's response in everything?
Lulu, government would have learned from 2021. They wouldn't want to see a regime change happening in front of their eyes. Who knows? Tomorrow might lead to a regime change. People in the country can start banging pots and pans to get government out of office or the president out of office. We don't know, but government is not taking any chances. Um, the marchers also, the protesters also do not want to take any chance by the government, trusting the government to ensure that the illegal immigrants, those who don't have documents, are deported out of South Africa. Many of them that I spoke to say they've given governments a sizable number of years to deal with the illegal immigration and complaints with illegal immigration, as you know, would stretch from drug distribution and drug manufacturing and many of those ills and evils of society. And what I like about what Much and all others are saying, they are saying not all Africans and not all of these people who come from outside of South Africa are crooks and criminals. Or don't have documents. Many of them are adding value to South Africa. And the people are saying those who don't have documents must go home, apply for documents, come in here and respect the rule of law, which we have seen some of them not respecting, not at all. But back in that country, they respect the rule of law. So there must be a balance between the police and the marchers. There must be a respect and discipline from the police in terms of upholding the law, as well as um, the marchers respecting the rule of law.
How key is intelligence gathering in comparison to the number of officers being deployed in preventing violence?
Um, Gathering intelligence is key and crucial. One of my colleagues in the security space just sent me a list of hotspots as per intelligence that have been done by a number of institutions, including your Institute of Security Studies and many of those things, the people who are worried about the issues of national security. So, and to ensure that national security remains protected and guaranteed, you would need to do intelligence. And that intelligence would then be used for deployment. And that deployment would then be used to prevent, combat, and detect any acts of criminality that would come from the marches, and also any acts of criminality that would come from those foreign nationals who might want to attack the marchers or might want to create a ruse against the marchers, and also detecting of crime and criminality within law enforcement agencies, rogue police members who might be wearing uniform but wanting to create chaos by shooting first, and therefore the situation running out of hand and control.
What contingency plans should the South African Police Service have in place if the protests quickly escalate into widespread unrest?
You do what you do best. crowd control, crowd management. That's where you allow your public order policing to use tear gas to disperse people so that people don't ban or destroy property or don't loot and that kind of stuff. And arrest those that identified from many security cameras throughout the country, and continued conversation from SAPS or law enforcement agencies through media platforms like yours to engage with the South African people not to continue um, with the violence if it happens. But I can put my head on the block and say, tomorrow I see a peaceful march. I see people addressing government to resolve the issue of illegal immigration.
And just what we're seeing on the ground, we have reporters in different parts of Johannesburg, for instance, where you look at some Malawians who are still camped out at the Malawian consulate, consulate, and people also still being stuck in KZN, and they're not accepting any more people. Some Zimbabweans are at the High Commission in Pretoria. In those instances, people still trying to leave and still trying to make their way home, but some are stranded. Uh, you know, how should government handle this situation? Because before it escalates, and we're hoping that we're not going to be seeing any escalation, but the fact that you've already touched on, hot spots that have been identified, how does government deal with this going forward after the 30th of June, which is tomorrow?
I think, Lulu, what really bothers me is what happens after post the 30th of June. And I also understand the people who may want to leave and being held somewhere at the Malawian Consulate General and in KZN and Zimbabwean embassies. These people, when they came, these people without documents, when they came into the country, they did not create a strain on the resources of the country and their own countries. It is now a challenge that they may want to hold government responsible for their going out of South Africa. Some of them know uh, um, how to get back through to their country without the government knowing and without their governments knowing. We know that some of them pay the people at the borders. We have seen some of the BMA members being arrested, and some of the police officers who were based at customs in some of our ports of entry and borders. We know that they do pay. Government must actually ensure that they work hand in glove with the embassies, with those countries. People who are not documented should not be defended by what we have listened to someone from Ghana speaking out of 10 as if we as the people of South Africa, myself, I've got some friends who are Ghanaians and Malawians and Mozambicans and Zimbabweans. I don't want my friends to go back home when they have the necessary documents. But those friends of mine who don't have the paper, some of them I had discussions with them last week to say, guys, go back home and get your sorted out. We are
Yeah.
brothers, we are
Well,
family
Andy,
forever. Yeah.
unfortunately, we have run out of time and we have to leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Andy. That's Ambassador Andy Mashaila, a security strategist, joining us on the line. It is 12:30, and our news headlines up next.